Hello everyone, and today I would like to talk to you about a game series that I have loved since I was a child. That series is Ratchet and Clank. I can remember early 2004-5, I was at my aunt's house for a sleepover, and they were into video games. So they showed me and my brother Ratchet and Clank Going Commando for the PS2. I could never beat that first hoverbike level as a kid, but that didn't stop me from loving what I played. A few years later, I got the third game of the series, Up Your Arsenal, for my birthday. And I spent months playing that. I loved the game too, but alas, I couldn't beat that game either, thanks to a certain pop star. But that's for later. Today, I will be talking about the first game in that series, Ratchet and Clank by Insomniac Games. So, in 2002, Insomniac released Ratchet and Clank, and it sold more than 3.7 million copies by 2007, creating a franchise that has seen a renewal of sorts thanks to the newest game in the series, Rift Apart, selling over 2 million copies in its opening year. Now on to the summary of Ratchet and Clank 2002. Spoiler warnings ahead. We start the game off with Ratchet fixing a cobbled-together ship before being told that he needs one more part to complete it. We then shift over to some robot factory in space, where we see multiple warbots being thrown into a pit. Then we see a defective bot coming down the assembly line. Said bot finds information leading to him stealing a ship and crash landing near Ratchet's home. Ratchet takes the robot home to fix him up, and the bot helps Ratchet to get his ship off the ground. After, of course, asking Ratchet to help him save the solar system from Chairman Drek, who is planning on destroying it. Ratchet agrees to help, and the duo leave the planet, as Ratchet gives Clank his name before they are shot down. They crash land on another planet, and have to find their new way to leave, meeting a colorful group of individuals along the way, including a plumber, and also the planetary chairman, who, after believing Ratchet and Clank were assassins, give them a courier ship to take the duo to the next planet on our little hitchhiker's adventure around the solar system. The next stop, the city planet of Kurwan, because they see a commercial that includes the greatest hero in the galaxy, Captain Quark. When we get to their planet, our intrepid heroes find it already under attack by Drek's forces. So, making their way through the war-torn streets and getting all the way to Al's RoboShock and spending a load of bolts to help give Clank an upgrade, they then travel to a training course owned and operated by Captain Quark. When they complete the course, they meet Helga, a wonderful lady who makes us pay for the gear that Quark said to give to us. So we pay and we get our hands on the Swing Shot, a wonderful piece of gear that basically allows us to become Spider-Man, if Spidey only had one web shooter, and said shooter was a big clunky looking thing. We make our way to yet another planet, this time some barren desert world, where we meet legendary hoverboarder Skid McMarks and his agent, giving us a quest to not only save Skid's life, but also to go to Blackwater City and win the races there. Once we save Skids from sand sharks, he gives us a hoverboard. They then make their way through other planets, and skipping through a couple of them, they fight some bad guys and take on this big-ass bug in the Blarg Tactical Research Station. Side note, can we please let the mobile infantry know that there are bugs that need to be ended? As we make our way through other worlds, we end up going to Blackwater City, which is currently under attack by amoeboid creatures. Making our way through the swarms of swap bots and amoeboids to the hoverboard races. Once the duo win the hoverboard race, they also get awarded a new booster for their hoverboard, presented by the legendary hero Captain Quark. The duo meet with the captain after the race, and seemingly impressed with our duo, the captain gives them the location of his hideout. So, as to be expected, our heroes excitedly make their way to the hideout. Going through the test arena, they make their way to this larger arena on the inside, where the captain reveals that he is currently in the employ of Executive Chairman Drek, throwing our heroes into the den of a Blargian Snagglebeast. After defeating the boss, Ratchet becomes hell-bent on fighting Quark and also ridiculing Clank for trusting him. A few planets later, our heroes end up on Supreme Executive Chairman Drek's remote facility on an asteroid belt, which is like an early staging area, making their way through the facility where we battle some more bug things. Thought I sent that message off to the Terran Federation about new bugs. I knew I should have called the Helldivers. After that detour, Ratchet and Clank face off against Quark once again, but this time it's a space battle. Ratchet then steals a ship from the research facility to fight. And once we beat Quark, they then make their way down to the planet he crashed onto to gather more information on Supreme Executive Chairman Drek, running into an extremely buff Gadgetron salesman named Steve. I like Steve, he seems nice. And while Ratchet didn't find Quark, he did find an infobot that gave him the location of yet another research facility. However, this time, Clank gets an upgrade. He becomes giant! So, after a fun smash and dash through the facility by Clank, the duo find out that Drek is going to destroy Ratchet's homeworld of Veldin. So, they intercept a large space convoy that was hauling a giant missile that would destroy Veldin. After disposing of the missile convoy, they make their way to the planet's surface, finally facing off against Drek and his corporate greed. After the defeat of Drek, they send another Planet Buster missile up to Drek's new planet and saving Veldin. For an early 2000s game, the controls on the old DualShock are a little awkward in terms of inputs. Like most games, the X button lets you jump, and hitting the button again at the apex of the first just gives you the double jump for more airtime. To swing the wrench, you press the square button, and to fire your ranged weapon, you use the circle button. Later on in the story, when you gain more weapons, you press the triangle button to use the quick select. Finally, L and R triggers zoom in and give Ratchet a crouch. As far as movement goes, the left stick controls basic movement and the right controls the camera. I use inverted controls for the camera just because it feels better. For Ratchet, you get a large selection of weapons that you can purchase throughout the course of the adventure. But not only do you have an awesome firearms, you also get his melee weapon, Omni Wrench 8000. A large wrench with a thin blade that Ratchet uses to bludgeon his opponents, though I'd really only use it against the smaller one-hitter enemies. That is, until you get more and more weapons. Enough to make any gun nut jealous with the amount of WMDs that you can grab in this game. Ratchet's gameplay is mainly platforming, a little bit of clunky third-person gunplay, and puzzle solving. And throughout the story, Ratchet will find gadgets to help him better traverse the worlds that he finds himself in, as well as some items that help you progress through the story. The Hacker is one gadget that has you play a minigame where you have to match laser beams to the correct points that then unlock said lock. As you go further into the story, the locks become harder with walls that block the laser pointers. It gets a little annoying to deal with, to be truly honest. Further in the story, you also get a helmet that lets you control starships and other fighters, adding to new gameplay for later missions. Another gadget that you get for progression is the O2 mask on the resort planet of Poketaru, where, to gain the mask, you have to use a fighter that's locked in a garage. And on a side note, who the hell lets a friggin' resort own a jet fighter? What leisurely activities are you utilizing the jet fighter for? I understand in the concept of the story, that part makes sense. Why though? That is my question. Why? But that's either way, that's neither here nor there. The fighter combat is incredibly limited. It's basically kind of like one of the all-range modes in Star Fox. Your very basic controls: circle is the fire button. You can press the square button to fire your rockets once you get a lock on, and X is a booster. On the rare occasion you are able to control Clank, his abilities are basically a very toned-down version of Ratchet. Square is punch, X is jump, and holding X lets you glide a little bit thanks to the upgrade that you get from Al in Metropolis. Throughout Clank's gameplay, you control smaller bots that you can use as keys to advance in the courts. You can also order them to attack enemies by using the triangle button. Though if you don't time it right, one or two of your bots will be destroyed, and you'll have to either make your way back and wait for it, or go and find it yourself. I won't lie, it happened to me a couple of times throughout the course of my playthrough, and it gets a little annoying. I want to talk about how Ratchet controls. I know I kind of went over his basic controls, but this is how he really feels. The way Ratchet moves honestly feels like they added ice physics to everything. When you try to move Ratchet, he'll only kind of slightly walk before starting his run. On the whole, it's not too bad, but it causes problems when you're in the heat of battle. And you're trying to dodge out of the way of rockets and the like. It kind of happened to me when I was in a train section in Metropolis. It's kind of hard to dodge the rockets fired by the Blarg. Ugh. Those guys are weird. By the Blarg forces, causing multiple death multiple times from what felt like honestly cheap shots. It also doesn't help that the weapons that you have at this point aren't exactly the best. The most powerful, ironically, is the first weapon you have, the bomb glove. But even that controls strangely. It's not a gun, it's literally a glove where you toss bombs, so you have a ring on the ground. And that's where your bomb's going to end up. It's just a little annoying. The other weapons you have access to being the blaster and the pyrocitor. The blaster is basically a pistol machine gun that is a very good ammo count at 200, though you trade that with the damage output and the very shoddy lock-on. Fortunately, the auto-targeting for the blaster is also terrible, and there were multiple times where I was right in front of the enemy and it still bloody missed. And let's be honest, the less said about the walloper and the taunter, the better. Not really my cup of tea, as it were. The weapons that I love using honestly have to be the Tesla Car, and to be truly honest, especially during this playthrough, the little drone things, the mini-bots, the Glove of Doom, those little mini-bots are badass. So going back to the Tesla Car, basically it is a wonderful weapon that has very good damage output, and to be honest, that's just amazing to me. And it's a bloody crab claw that it also damages enemies around it, making it wonderful for crowd control. But if you're looking for damage output without breaking the bank, trying to farm for the Rhino, a wonderful weapon that rains down destruction on your enemies. Though, like I said, it's expensive as hell to try and obtain a whopping 150,000 bolts. So definitely not something you're going to get till around your second or even third playthrough. Now I know of ways that you can farm bolts, but I'm not going to do that as I want to preserve some mystery to the most powerful weapon in the damn galaxy. But for a cheaper option, the rocket launcher is a wonderful output, plus also the hollow launcher, or not hollow launcher. There are two rocket launchers in the game, the Demolisher and the other rocket launcher. One is your basic rocket launcher that shoots the rockets where you point in. Another one lets you actually go in and fire the damn thing. Or like, you control the missile itself. It makes life so much easier when you're using it that way. Later on, you come across Al and Al's family. They'll provide Clank with different upgrades that you have to pay for. Al gives you the helipack upgrade. His brother gives you the jetpack upgrade, and his sister gives you the hydropack upgrade. You can switch through the 3 different packs by going into the settings menu. And, amazingly, the hydropack auto-equips once you dive into water. Unfortunately, you get the hydropack last in the lineup, and ironically, it is on an ice planet, where you really don't want to touch the water there, or else you turn into an icy cube. Trust me, not fun. But none of these upgrades compare to the awesome might that is Mega Clank! So during the course of the game, you meet an inventor that is begrudgingly working for Drek. And he gives a Clank an upgrade for free, I might add. Take that, capitalism. But it is under the condition that you battle and destroy the other mechs that the inventor has already created. Mega Clank is a literal tank, and no, I did not mean to rhyme that, being activated at these special growth pads that are unfortunately story locked, meaning there's only 2 cases. I counted 2 cases where you get to use the big guy, which stinks. But this giant Clank comes equipped with a powerful missile launcher, a powerful punch, a decent jump that kind of lets you Goomba jump on other enemies, and also a very powerful bomb when you're at full health that just annihilates everything. But unfortunately, you go from what feels like ice physics to tank controls. Finally, the boss fights. In this game, there are really only 4 boss fights. First is the Alien Queen, who attacks you like the basic snappers, and she also summons a couple of her one-hit enemies and 2 more snappers. Those are very annoying. But I suggest the best way to deal with that is to use the bomb glove to help clear the floor, and then use the pyrocitor or the blaster to hit the queen from afar. The next boss fight is the Blargin Snagglebeast, and he's a pretty decent boss, but kind of easy to hurt him as well. All you really have to do is just shoot at him, and then, when he becomes invincible with a shield, you just dunk him in the lava a couple of times. All of his attacks are really just jumping to send out shockwaves, and also he has these like fire punch move things if you get too close, and that's when he uses those. Next we have Quark, right? We finally get to fight Captain Quark. Hallelujah. And it is a starship fight, so it's alright. Again, it's basically just a Star Fox boss fight. So you just have to use your miniguns to shoot at the thrusters on Quark's backside. And then you can also use missiles, stuff like that. It's really kind of a boring boss fight, unfortunately. Like, it really sucks. Finally, we have Ultimate Supreme Executive Drek and his big-ass mech. You start off fighting this in a kaiju section with Clank, but after that, it's platforming, followed by following the mech across Velton, before we fight the robot as Ratchet as well, who has these electric it kind of looks like the what do you call it? It's like a giant electrical ball that he fires at you. That's very easy to dodge so long as you're moving, but it does a decent amount of damage. He also has an energy wave that you have to jump over, which is kind of a pain in the ass when you're firing and jumping because you can't double jump when you're shooting. He also has dark Gadgetbots, which literally are just a dark variant of the Gadgetbots that we use. They may be a little bit bigger, but that's about it. To be truly honest, they're still one-hitters, so they're just annoying on the battlefield. And this being the final boss means that it's supposed to be hard. And it is. Though more in the way of feeling gypped than a legitimate challenge. The amount... I clipped through the floor once. I don't even know how it happened. He was shooting the AoE attack, where the big grenade that shoots the laser beam. And and somehow... I was on the grind rail as well. And somehow... I got knocked through the damn floor on like one of my best runs. And that was just... really bloody annoying. But not to say that it is like super bad. You do need to rely on a lot of the skills that you have learned throughout the game. But to be truly honest, it was still a decently fun time. But you do have to make sure that at the end, during the boss fight, the mech will hit these special little sections in the arena that activate a timer. You have to get to the center of the arena, do the power slam move on the giant button, and then get the hell out, or else Drek's mech comes in with a small energy shield and tries to zap you. It is incredibly annoying. Though, honestly, it's not that... I shouldn't say it's not that hard, because I had to take multiple attempts at the final boss fight, but, I mean, it's the final boss fight. It's kind of how it's supposed to be. But all in all, I cannot recommend Ratchet and Clank. It is such a fun game, from the characters that you meet to the worlds that you can explore. It is a game I cannot recommend enough. It has its problems, don't get me wrong. It's definitely the first game in a series kind of feel to it. Throughout the rest of the games, they definitely have worked to make it feel so much smoother and the gunplay a lot more fun while getting rid of a couple other things, but we'll be getting to those ones later when I finally do the other games in the series, because yes, I definitely plan on doing the other ones. So, thank you all so much for watching. If you happen to enjoy this video, please leave a like, comment, and if you're enjoying this style of video, consider subscribing, just so I know that this is something that you guys want to see. This took a lot of work for me, from the editing to the recording of the audio, gathering the footage. I have never done something like this before, so this is like a very large experiment for me. But again, I would love to see this channel grow into something that is a fun community that can enjoy different games and talk about them. Now, without further ado, have a good rest of your day, night, or whenever you watch this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, everyone.